Running Sentences presents A Spy's Dagger. Part 2. A Capital in Trouble. Getting into the city is an easy feat for Dante, but once there, things are quite troubling for him. This story was written and narrated by Michael Honnery. This story is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within the story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and/or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on is purely coincidental. Copyright 2025, Michael Honnery, all rights reserved. Dante had avoided the main city gate, not wanting to deal with the guards and many questions that they might have. Instead, he chose a small side gate of the walled city, one that fell under the control of a few unsavory types. Its run-down and barred state made it look inaccessible unless you knew the right people. Dante didn't mind the look and anything about it one bit as he strolled up to it. "I'm calling for passage into the city." He'd stopped a few feet short of the gate and the building that guarded it. Neither was in a good state, and he almost began to worry that they'd in fact been abandoned when there was some movement from inside the building and the door opening. "Who is calling for passage late at night?" "A traveler of the people and for the people," Dante called out. "Oh, that old password isn't accepted anymore." "Why?" "Changes on up high, disagreements and new agreements or something like that." "I can pay, sir." "It isn't about money anymore. You need the royal seal to get through here." With an exasperated sigh, Dante reached down and yanked off his boot, doing his best to balance himself on one foot. His hand went inside to pull out 2 items, and he tossed them over to the man. They were caught and looked over. "Is that good enough for you?" "Well, your type doesn't come around this way much anymore." "Are you sure? Last couple of months I heard that this was the passage for us to get around in." Yeah, as I said, things have changed, sir." "Can you tell me what exactly is different, Mr. Guard?" The man grunted and threw back the seal, which Dante easily caught, as he was putting his boot back on. The other item, a small satchel of money, was tucked away. "I take it you were busy elsewhere then? Well, doesn't matter, does it? A rumor has it the king is sick and his daughters are fighting to take over, or something like that. Poison is what people think is wrong with the king, but again, rumored, and I didn't say it." "No, you did not, and I didn't hear it either. Can I pass through?" Yeah, follow me. Keep your head on a swivel. There are plenty of knights and soldiers about town, looking to make a name for themselves." "Is it really that bad in there?" "During the night? Yeah, daytime ain't as bad because there's lots of people around. Even then now, if one of those soldiers decides they want to do something, no one's gonna stop them." "That really is bad." "Yep, that's what's been going on, sir. I don't know about bad or good." The man had trudged his way back into the guardhouse building and waved for him to follow. He'd been led to a tunnel down below the house and through it. It was a short walk to get under the wall, and was also a dark one. The guard, whose name was Robert, held a lantern and stopped at the end of this area where a door stood. Carefully, the man knocked on it in a recognizable but not too familiar fashion. "This place didn't used to be this secretive." "Times have changed, and we need to keep up with orders." A sinking feeling for Dante haunted him at that moment. His hand instinctively reached for his hidden daggers on his side. One couldn't be too careful, and the thieves' guild who ran these secretive spots tended to look out for themselves, especially if they could get money out of that deal. "You took money to stop people from coming here, didn't you?" "Not me, no. Someone else might have, though, sir." "On the other side of the door, then?" Why don't you find out? With those last words snarled, Robert tossed the door open and threw himself in after it, hitting the ground a moment later. Dante had suspected he was going to do something like that and instantly went to his knee and pressed against the tunnel wall, waiting for anything to come out. There was a hiss of noise that zipped overhead, but only for a moment, and it was gone. If you want to wind up dead, then keep this up. Stay alive by letting me through. We got good money on traitors, and you sound like one, came the unhelpful reply from in the room. Frowning to himself, Dante tried to look towards the bright room doorway beyond. The people behind it, though, had laid a clever trap of focusing all the light towards this, so he couldn't really see. Though there was also another problem that they might not have thought about. He couldn't see them, then it would also be equally as hard to see him. Is all of this on the orders of the princesses? Shut up and die, we don't care about that. There was another whiz of something passing overhead, which Dante figured to be a bolt of some kind. He wasn't about to waste any time trying to figure out what it was, though, as he began crawling, quietly as he could, forward. Slipping into this basement space, Dante had to blink more than a few times to be able to see again. He hadn't stopped crawling once he was moving, and kept going as quickly as he could for some sort of protection. Now, out of the beaming light that was headed into that little tunnel, they would be able to see him, but he needed a moment more. There he is, kill him and just take his goods. Why do you want to do that, Robert? Dante shouted over. It's of no concern to you. You'll be dead and regret thinking you could come this way. I regret a lot of things, and one of them will be killing you since you won't give me any answers. There were a few nearby boxes, which he was headed towards, and he felt the soft thunk of something hitting at his shoulder, driving him back and bringing everything into sharp focus. These people were from the Thieves' Guild, which likely meant that it wouldn't be a poison bolt, potentially, but there was always a chance that it could be. But to spend money on such things, to rob people? He shook his head, ripping out the bolt that had mostly grazed him. That's the best you have to offer? To try and kill me? In response, the man stood up and pointed, crossbow dead at him, but that was a mistake as Dante threw the bolt from his shoulder towards the man. The thief flinched, ducked, and that was all that he needed. In a couple of steps, Dante was up and already on him, knife across this man's throat. What the fuck? You're messing with a man who works, or worked, for the king. You don't think I would be able to handle a few lone thieves? We're not thieves. Dante didn't bother looking up at his guide who had brought him in here. He instead pressed the blade hard against his victim's throat. Two regular idiots who took on a job too big for them then. No, this is our line of work. We're assassins. You're very poor ones, then. With a flick of his wrist, he slit the man's throat, and then tossed the blade as best he could towards Robert. It wasn't aimed, but rather a test to see what would happen. The man flinched, ducked, and began scrambling away from him, which is what Dante had actually hoped for. Run away to your superiors, little assassin. Let them know not to fuck with me. They'll kill you. They may certainly try to do so. Dante snarled at him. In a bit of a whimper, Robert ran for the stairs and out of the basement. Fuck, I hate killing. It's so dirty and unnecessary to accomplish things. Stupid idiots. Now I need to find out what's going on in here. He stripped the gloves off of his hands, figuring they were already fairly stained in blood, and with a frown he figured he needed to burn them at some point, but for now he tucked them into an inner hidden pocket of his coat. The only exit to get into this city lay those stairs that Robert had gone up, which meant there might be another fight in his future or a trap at the end of that staircase. With a growl to himself he found his dagger, and then the bolt he'd thrown, It appeared to be clean of any substance other than blood, so he had at least that going for him as he pressed to find the wound on his shoulder, which wasn't too deep and was mostly clotted blood by now. The exit through the house had been a simple and quiet affair as Dante snuck through the doorway with no problem. He found himself shortly out on the streets, where no one was around at this hour, and there was no signs of Robert either. With looking in both directions and nothing happening, Dante was quick to reorient himself with the capital of Chester. Things always felt like they were changing here, and it felt hard to keep up, even if you lived here. The only factor that he did feel like stayed the same was the castle towards the north side of town. With quick steps, Dante closed the door of that house and hurried on his way. The maze of the capital hadn't been kind to him, sending him down several misdirected paths before he found his way. The castle walls now loomed up before him as he crossed the moat to the gate allowing people in. The usual cadre of guards stood in front, blocking anyone from getting in. They noticed Dante as he approached, rubbing his shoulder and waving that hand. "Hello." "Halt! I'm here to see the king about important matters. Captain Henry can vouch for me if I'm clear to enter." "What's your name and what business do you have here that would require the king's attention?" "I am Dante of the Third House. I'm returning from a work assignment mission, seeking information that the king insisted on getting." "Yes, okay. You'll wait here while someone fetches a few people." No need for that. I'm here. I will attest that this man is allowed through." Captain Henry strolled up behind the guards, making a few of them turn to see who was talking. When they saw who he was, they stiffened and went rigid to attention. "Oh, so nice of you to do so, Henry." "Yeah, I thought you might have some trouble, so I stuck around here to see if you did." "Oh, thank you." "Most welcome, old man. Now, he needs to get inside at once, so unless you guards want to spend all night out here on duty." They all parted to let Dante pass, which he did so with a grimace. The two trudged through the castle pathway to the castle itself, a long walk to get through the grounds, but it was nice to see the greenery and plants that made up the various gardens. "Care to fill me in on what's going on here? I ran into people claiming to be a part of the Assassin's Guild and shutting down the old entrance." "I know nothing about that." "Really, Henry? They said they were on the princess's orders." "Well, then I will have a chat with some sources about such things, but they may have just been saying things." It didn't feel right to Dante, who was shaking his head. If minions, and low ones at that, were acting out in an effort to get money or to get jobs, it usually meant that bigger things were about to be a problem. Dante thought to himself. "I would be careful if you do. I don't want you to piss off people." "I am captain of the King's Guard. My job is always pissing people off." "Well, point it out. What's been happening around the capital lately, by the way? Something seems to be going on to cause frustrations and whatever that was that I ran into." "The king has been sick, and the princesses are taking turns helping out, but other than that, it's business as usual. People are unhappy with taxes, Dante, and they want a greater say in things, and they feel like the rich are taking advantage of them." That was about what Dante expected to hear from all of this. "He's sick, but he wants to see me right away. Usually the things I report on can wait a day or two. Let me digest what I can into information that he can actually use." "I don't know. Those were the orders I got when I got your message to make a scene at the Duchy Castle," the captain replied. "You told him about my plan?" "No, merely that I was going to aid you, Dante." Frowning to himself, Dante wondered if the events were related or not. A good chance they could be. Sickness and the king's personal guard being away. Something was going on here, and he wasn't in the know, making things that much more dangerous to be around. If I could ever make an insistence on things, never tell people about my plans. Henry grabbed hold of Dante's arm, yanking him back as he finished crossing the ground towards the castle itself. It was a heavy, tough yank that did his job well. It was the king who ordered it. I cannot deny him his wishes. You also don't tell him everything and anything, do you, Henry? Like your liaison with one of the princesses? Or is that out in the open now with everyone okay with it? Letting go of him, Henry waved his hand to keep him silent on that. We all have things we keep from him, but I have no sworn oath to you, and I do to him. Besides, he didn't ask me about her, and the princess, I mean, so I don't have to answer about it. And I don't have to talk about this, as there is a king waiting for a briefing. The king's chambers were not quiet, as a loud cough echoed through them. The place was dimly lit and had a map table laid out with various castles on it, denoting much of the kingdom, plus the lands beyond. There were several markers all around the area, but Dante barely paid any attention to it, as Henry marched into the room with him by his side. Father, you really must rest. There's no time for you to be up when you're sick. Nonsense, Dora. I have work to do, and reports never wait for anyone. The sound of their footsteps drew the attention of the princess and the king, who looked over at them. Well, if it isn't Captain Charming and a foul beast. Princess Ella offered a smile and a salute to Henry. Those quickly slipped away at the sight of Dante. Princess, your highness, it is good to see you two doing well. Father is not well. Don't lie to them, Ella. A cough is nothing to worry about. I believe you have a report for me, you two. I'm sure that Captain Henry has probably already turned over all of the papers, and the Duke, as you already knew, sir, isn't paying his taxes, and is using that money to finance other endeavors. As to what those were, I could not really get close to that information, not without a lot more risk. You weren't willing to risk your life for your king? With a tight smile, Dante turned to Ella. I was already risking my life for him. This is all about whether or not I could get that information out of the Duke. In this instance, it felt like a step too far and would probably cause a lot of problems for the king. I'm not trying to go to the war with the Duke of Mitra, Ella. This is about getting the basics before anyone is able to or can make a move about this kingdom. Your daughter is still learning the ways of how things work, your highness. Yes, she is, Henry, and you don't need to remind me of that, Captain. Anything else I should know? They do not have any plans to foment a revolution or join up with anyone, though the Duke did have a lot to say about taxes which he didn't want to pay. Everyone should pay their fair share. Dante ticked his head to the side, trying to figure out if he should comment on that from the captain. He was no accountant, but had seen enough reports that some were getting taxed more than others, and, well, it didn't really have rhyme or reason. There is also the daughters, your highness. Oh, what about them, Dante? They are of age, and might be invited to the court for the season. Are you trying to curry favor with him or something? Why would we want that rabble in the court? He shot the princess a look and shook his head no towards her, with probably a vain effort to get her to realize that things weren't that simple and politics had their part to play in all of this. A tax break and inviting the daughters to the court might help ease the Duke's situation. Then we'd have to lower it for everyone then. Henry, pointing this out, did not dissuade Dante from his point there. A tax rebate can be rotated around to the other dukes, earls, and so on to keep them happy. You want to get everyone, at least, to help you out with your coming plans that you haven't told me, sir, and this is all your choice, of course, Your Highness. I'm merely offering you ideas on things." As he said this, Dante took a bow and showed his subservience and a couple of steps back. "It will be thought over, and a decision will come to later. For now, you are dismissed. We can all go to bed." "Thank you, King Horn. You are a wise man," Dante said. "Your Highness," with Henry joining him in the bow, they made their way out of there. Having been afforded a private quarters within the castle, Dante decided now was a good time to use them. He rarely had a reason to use them, and he preferred his place away from the castle. But there were too many questions, and he was tired from the last few days. It was a rather ornate room with everything done up in a fine fashion and the finest of fabrics on the bed. This was not a place he could ever really feel comfortable in, mostly because it was the worst place in the world for one's safety of a political hellhole. Granted, all castles and fiefdoms had this sort of feature where everyone trying their best to grab power and not being slightly safe in having escape routes. And then there was also the guard at the door, his side of the door, which keeping an eye on him. "Is this something new, guard?" "Sir, are you talking to me?" "There's no one else in the room unless someone is magically spying on us. Do you think that is happening?" Opening their mouth to respond, the woman in chainmail armor paused and thought about this for a moment more, and then offered a shrug. "I couldn't say, sir. And if I might add, it is also not my place to tell you what is going on around the castle." Dante narrowed his eyes. The voice sounded too familiar for his liking as he moved about the room, taking off his jacket and slinging it onto a nearby chair. With purposeful steps, he moved towards the bed, giving himself a little time to think. Not that the guard was going to go out of their way to speak to him, and the helmet that covered their face, with the visor down, was really weird. "So how long have you been working here?" he asked. "Years." "If you're going to lie, Bree, you should make it a good one. All the guards know when they were brought to work at the castle. It is a point of pride with them." The helmet that had been covering her face was removed, showing dirty blonde hair that managed to hide under it. She grinned at him. "When did you figure it out?" "The fact that you're standing in here and not outside. Also, guards don't hang around me." "Damn, I thought I'd done a good job." "Good enough. What are you doing here, though? I thought you were out on your own job," he asked. "I was. I came back, and since it was finished up, now I have nothing to do until the spy master returns from his little assignment, so I'm working on disguises and getting to hard-to-reach places." He looked at her with a raised eyebrow. There was a question lying there, and it was easy to pull out. The question of did he actually want to know or not was the only thing stopping him. "You're working on obvious disguises in a place you can easily get to?" "I've got to start somewhere." "Liar, you're well trained in sneaking about. So what brings you to my quarters, then?" "Our master wishes to know what's going on lately." "The usual. I'm pretty sure he already knows. Unrest due to taxes and people wanting more freedom. There appear to be a few problems with this city." "There shouldn't be any issues with our fair capital. Not with our master watching over things." "Then why did I run into trouble getting through the closed gate?" "I killed a man and then chased off another, both of whom claimed to be part of the assassins, or maybe the thieves' guild. It wasn't exactly clear." Her face clouded at this news, and then she said, "That needs to be reported." "Yeah, it does. But I'm tired, and oh look, this perfect person is still standing next to the door to deliver it for me." She gave him a bit of a dirty look for that. "He'll want to hear the news from you." "And it waits for the morning when the spy master returns." "This feels like a small matter in the grand scheme of things." "Not when there's a death associated that needs to be cleaned up." Dante rolled his eyes. I get it. Fine, let's just go talk to him, if he's in. Dante pulled himself off the bed with a sigh. It wasn't too long of a walk to get to the spy master's chambers. It was a quiet office set near a lot of bedchambers and other spaces used by staff, though the staff were told to stay clear of that specific room. Not even cleaning was allowed in. Dante knocked on the door with Bree by his side and her arms folded over. Who is it? It's a returning soldier looking for a long-lost home. It always felt a little silly saying these sort of things through the door, but the spy master Royce demanded it, and so it had to be done. A lost soldier, you say? Is there just one of you? I am here as well, corralling the lost one home. After a moment, the door was pulled open and a not-too-old-looking man, though with grey and long hair and loose robes, was in the doorway. His outfit he wore was always to deceive people into thinking he wasn't as fit as he actually was. Most were at least aware of that fact, that Master Royce was strong merely for the fact that he kept accidentally breaking cups and claiming he didn't know his own strength. How goes things then? About as well as expected, except for the edges of the city. Dante claims there's a need to clean up some old blocked-up gate. Well, you'll need to come in then. Explain, then. The room was, unlike Dante's, kept simple, though there were papers strewn about the place, and it felt messy. Remnants of Royce's never-ending work, and his effort to keep everything in check. I was stopped and attacked by two men claiming to be from the Assassin's Guild, although they may have been thieves. Ultimately, I had to kill one, and the other one ran off from the guardhouse in the city. Royce frowned deeply as he went over to the window where there were several bird cages. He scribbled a note onto the piece of paper, which was then attached to the bird in one of the cages, and then that was released out the window. Dusting his hand, the spy master turned back to them. Taken care of, then, shortly anyway. What exactly happened? Giving a quick rundown of events, Dante didn't leave anything out from his all the way back to his work at the Duke's castle. Both Royce and Bree had moved to get comfortable in chairs while he did so. And to top all of that off, those two claimed at the guardhouse that the princesses were in charge of affairs. Yes, they pretty much are, Dante. The king makes choices, but they're steered by the princesses, who have their say in matters. That makes it sound like we will all soon be expendable. Yes, there's a chance of that, Bree. They have power and don't want connections to the king to hang around. It's a matter of time before that's house cleaning, Miss Bree. I'd advise both of you to make yourselves scarce in the next few months. This was troubling to hear since he was well known, at least around the castle. I take it you will be fine, though, Spy Master? It will depend on how they're feeling and if they have someone else they think can do the job. There is something to be said for having knowledge of how things work, and I will do my best to keep my workers out of the limelight. Might be a little late on that front, for me anyway, Dante replied. You always knew how to make an appearance, though. With a glare at Bree, he sighed and began moving towards the door. I will keep it in mind and make myself scarce. I've been meaning to leave the country for a little vacation, so now might be a good time for that. But you could lose everything if you do that, and there is a change in role. Houses and money come and go, Bree. I have enough of it stashed away, so it won't be a big deal if they come for some of it. They'd have to know where it is, and only I do, so I can at least get to some of it. After a brief debate with himself, Dante decided that leaving the castle was once again a bad idea. If there were rumors flying about and he was seen leaving, it wasn't worth the risk, even though people would have already decided on whatever accusation they wanted to make already. Sleep came slowly to him, but he fell into it, and when he was awoken by a harsh cry coming from the hallway, maybe in the early morning. Princess Abella has been poisoned. The words jolted him from his bed and brought on a long, heavy sigh. How long would it be before someone came knocking on his door? Either to accuse him or to go get him to get to the bottom of this. He swung his legs out of bed and moved to get to the dresser as a hard knock hit his door. Who is it? Captain of the Guards. Who else were you expecting calling you? With the news going on, I would expect anyone and everyone who doesn't like me to show up. The door opened, letting in Henry, who had a key in his hand. It was quick to disappear from the man's grasp into a pocket, but not before it went noticed by Dante. He raised an eyebrow, worried at sight. People weren't supposed to be able to get in here easily. We have an issue. As I said, I heard the news, Captain. What do you want from me? I need you to come with me while we tend to things. Having slipped on his pants and adjusted his shirt so that he was presentable, that made him pause. Why would Henry say that? What was going on that they would need a spy for? Is there something else going on that I have not been told yet? Princess Ella wants to check over everyone and make sure they're not the reason things have happened. It made sense, but Dante wondered how they knew it was poison already. Something felt off about all of this, and he was sure he was about to find out what. I guess we're going to the royal court, then. Yes, to the court we go, the captain replied. A crowded royal court space made it hard to move as the two arrived. Henry had soon left his side for whatever reason, and Dante suspected it was to go be with Ella, who was in charge now. The king would normally have a say, but the princess would be the one pushing for things. Dante frowned to himself, not putting too far into the crowd as he worried that this might be some sort of trap to get rid of a bunch of people. Good morning to the lot of you. Ella's words were quick to cut through the murmuring crowd, curious as to why they'd been gathered, though most probably already knew that the other princess was poisoned, so... I am here to announce that someone snuck into my sister's room and poisoned her. I will find them and deal with them in short order. If you've been gathered here today, I or my staff suspect that you have some involvement in this. What's the king got to say on this? This is his job. This is a high job, not for daughters or princesses. Yes, Lord Darkwater, it is his job. But as he is busy dealing with some delicate border matters and other matters which he is not filling me in on, he's assigned this to me. A good test of my mettle, as he put it. But why you? You can ask him later when you see him, if you're proven innocent. Now, our questioning will begin shortly by the guards of everyone here. Please stay calm until you're called or pulled from the room. That is all. End of part 2 of A Spy's Dagger. Thank you for listening.